You know, when a computer starts glitching, when the screen freezes up and the fans are just spinning out of control and everything grinds to a halt, what do we usually do?
Right, we panic. We click the mouse 100 times.
Exactly. We stare at the monitor, maybe we drag some folders around the desktop, hoping that rearranging the external interface will somehow fix things.
Which is, I mean, it's the ultimate exercise in futility.
Yeah, we're desperately hoping the deeply buried, overloaded processor will just magically cool down because we moved a shortcut.
You're essentially trying to, put out a fire in the basement by rearranging the furniture in your living room.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Because the problem isn't the desktop. The problem is deep in the underlying code of the operating system itself.
And yet, when it comes to human psychology, when our own minds start glitching with anxiety or endless looping thoughts or chronic frustration, we do the exact same thing.
We really do. We try to fix the outside world.
Right. We rearrange our external environment, we try to control the people around us, and we just hope our internal processor will finally calm down.
Which it never does.
Exactly. So today, we are taking a radically different approach to self-improvement and psychology. We're looking at the human mind through a high-dimensional, ancient lens that, frankly, flips our entire concept of fixing things completely upside down.
It really requires a profound shift in perspective. And to get there, we are analyzing a very specific, incredibly dense teaching session today.
Yeah, so today's deep dive is sourced from a session produced by Buddhist Practice Incorporated out of Australia.
Right.
The key speaker is consultant Benny, and he is delivering this talk at the direct request of Venerable Ivy.
And he's speaking to a live audience, which adds a really interesting dynamic.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Oh, and the production itself comes to us via Nopa Kilimandan. Now, the mission for you, the listener, as we go through this material together, isn't about, adopting religious dogma.
No, not at all.
Whether you have a background in Buddhist philosophy or not, what we are extracting today is a highly sophisticated framework for understanding the mechanics of our own thoughts.
The illusions of reality, basically.
Yes, and why our standard methods for personal growth are, well, they're basically backward.
Consultant Benny really doesn't offer any comforting platitudes here. I mean, he actively strips away the illusions we use to comfort ourselves.
He does not hold back.
He exposes the raw, mechanical functions of human desire and ego.
Okay, let's unpack this, because usually when we think of high-dimensional realms or spiritual heavens, we imagine this passive spa.
Right, like clouds and harps.
Yeah, a place where you just exist peacefully. But Benny introduces the concept of the Pure Land, specifically mentioning something called the Eight Merit Water.
Which is a fascinating concept.
And he says that if even a single drop from a hair tip touches something, it brings back spring and revives dead roots.
Which sounds beautiful, right?
It does. But it doesn't sound like a passive paradise. It sounds more like an incredibly advanced, automated psychological detox facility.
And that completely reframes the conventional view. I mean, Benny's analogy is intensely pragmatic.
Yeah.
He describes this eight-merit water not as something pretty to look at, but functioning mechanically like heavy-duty laundry detergent or industrial dish soap.
Dish soap that completely strips away the mystical romance of it.
Yeah.
He's talking about consciousness like it's a greasy pan.
I know, but it is a perfect mechanical analogy because when an ordinary person carrying lifetimes of heavy, stubborn psychological dirt.
And by dirt, we mean what, like delusions?
Exactly. Delusions, emotional baggage, greed, anger, ignorance. When you enter this water, a chemical-like reaction occurs.
Oh, wow.
The water automatically generates a reactive force that actively breaks down that psychological grime.
So you don't even have to do the work.
Right, you don't have to consciously scrub your own ego. The environment itself is an active, automated cleaning mechanism for consciousness.
That is wild. And the physical environment participates too, right? He talks about the wind blowing through these holographic-like trees.
Yes, the trees are a huge part of it.
And the sound isn't just, like, pleasant background music. Benny says the environment actually tracks your speed.
Which is such a modern way to phrase it.
It really is. It calculates your cognitive load, your specific emotional blockages,
Yeah.
and delivers the exact frequency or teaching you need to dissolve them right in that very moment.
If you consider modern educational theory, I mean, we spend billions trying to develop personalized, adaptive learning algorithms.
Oh, totally. EdTech is obsessed with that.
And here, this ancient text is describing a reality that functions as the ultimate omniscient adaptive learning environment.
It observes the fundamental code of your mind and dynamically alters the environment to debug it.
Exactly.
But, if that holographic world is perfectly adapted to teach you at your exact speed,
Yeah.
it really makes you wonder about human teachers in our own world.
It's a huge contrast.
And a live audience member actually asked Benny about this, specifically about the speed of teaching and preaching.
Right, because in our modern culture, we value high-speed data transfer.
Oh, absolutely. We listen to audiobooks at 2x speed. We just want the bullet points, you know.
Oh, we want the fastest path to the information.
But Benny pushed back hard on that. He said faster is absolutely not better, and sometimes a teacher must go slower.
Because teaching in this high-dimensional framework is not merely the transfer of data.
It's not just copy-pasting text.
No, you aren't just moving concepts from a textbook to an audience's ears. What's fascinating here is the absolute standard Benny sets for speaking truth.
Yeah, he is so strict about this.
He insists that for a teaching to be real, the concept must perfectly and mechanically manifest in the speaker's own mind first.
He gives a very specific example for this, right? Vividly seeing Guanyin Bodhisattvas sitting on a red lotus.
Yes.
He says you can't just describe a painting you saw once. You have to literally run the software of that image in your mind's eye as you speak.
The imagery must be a lived internal reality. Like the physics of this transmission require the concept to generate an effect in the speaker's heart,
Wow.
then travel through their mouth and strike directly into the listener's heart.
So if you were just talking fast, just repeating words without that internal visualization, Benny says you were just acting.
Just putting on a show.
He actually calls it a great lie if it's done just to scam people out of offerings or, just to look enlightened.
It's a harsh truth.
I love how heavily that critiques our modern fake it till you make it culture.
Yeah.
Benny implies that faking it actively damages the transmission of truth.
You are essentially sending corrupted files.
Exactly. Corrupted files. And that demand for absolute authenticity ties directly into another vital mechanism Benny highlights, which is recognizing the ultimate source. The root.
This is crucial. He issues a strict warning about a fatal flaw many spiritual seekers make.
Which is forgetting Shakyamuni Buddha.
Right.
Now, to clarify for anyone unfamiliar, Benny refers to Shakyamuni Buddha as the fundamental teacher of our Saha world. Wait, let's actually define that for you guys listening. Why does he call our current reality the Saha world?
So Saha translates roughly to endurance.
Endurance.
Okay, it describes a realm where beings must endure suffering, affliction, and just the constant friction of impermanence.
It is the exact opposite of that automated detox facility we discussed earlier.
Exactly. And in this realm of endurance, Benny stresses that without Shakyamuni Buddha acting as the initial guide.
The one who actually pointed the way out of the suffering.
Right. Without him, we wouldn't even possess the data that a place like the Pure Land or Amitabha Buddha even exists.
It sounds like people are trying to build a penthouse of a skyscraper while actively demolishing the ground floor.
That's a great analogy.
We want the shiny new destination, but they just kick the foundation aside.
And that behavior guarantees a collapse. I mean, if you do not know who your fundamental teacher is, if you sever the root of your lineage, your entire practice loses its structural integrity.
You're just grasping at concepts.
You are.
And that tendency to forget the foundation and constantly grasp for the next shiny thing that isn't just a flaw in meditation practice.
No, it's everywhere.
It seems like the very engine of how human desire operates in everyday life.
And Benny moves seamlessly from high-level cosmology into incredibly sharp mechanical psychology precisely on this point.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I've always imagined desire as an emptiness, right? Like a hunger.
A void to be filled.
Yeah. But Benny uses the metaphor of the river of love. He paints this picture of human consciousness as a torrential, unstoppable flow.
A rushing river.
Right. And we were swept up in the current, desperately clinging to whatever we can find, which he calls patches of watergrass.
Watergrass, it's such a vivid image.
We grab the eating grass for a brief second of satisfaction, and then the current rips us away, and we desperately grab the sleeping grass or the entertainment grass.
And the mechanics of that clinging are what generate our suffering. The friction between the unstoppable current of time and our desperate grip on stationary grass causes immense psychological pain.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. And the tragedy, as Benny points out, is that clinging to the grass is essentially like scooping the moon from the water.
Oh, I love that phrase. Scooping the moon from the water.
Mm-hmm.
You see the reflection of the moon, you reach into the water to grab it, and you come up with nothing but wet hands.
Exactly. You experience a momentary dopamine hit, a sensory taste of pleasure, but you never actually possess anything tangible.
The moon remains untouched.
But humans will exhaust their entire lives chasing that fleeting, empty illusion. We become addicted to the physical act of grasping, regardless of the fact that it perpetually leaves us empty-handed.
And we don't even need external triggers to keep this exhaustion going.
No, we do it to ourselves.
Think about this scenario, and I mean you, the listener. Picture this. You are sitting totally alone in a quiet room. Your phone is in another room. Nobody is bothering you.
The environment is objectively safe.
Completely safe. Yet, your heart is racing, your jaw is clenched, you're furious about an email from 3 years ago, or you're terrified of a meeting next month.
Benny offers a really harsh wake-up call for that exact scenario. We constantly blame the outside world for our stress, but he notes that we do not need outsiders to create drama.
We really don't.
A human being can sit completely alone and let their mind conjure 1,000 years of bones, 10,000 years of chaff.
1,000 years of bones.
Yeah.
Just an endless loop of gossip, jumping emotions, and hypothetical arguments in the shower.
Completely self-generated friction. Your mind is staging an elaborate, highly emotional play.
Yeah.
You are the director, the villain, the victim, and the audience, sitting entirely alone in an empty room.
So the suffering is not an external imposition at all.
No, it is an internal production.
Man, if our own minds are generating all this internal chaos, right? If we are the ones planting and pulling at all this watergrass, then who or what are we actually supposed to be saving in this world?
That is the big question.
Because when we hear phrases in these traditions about delivering sentient beings or saving sentient beings, we instantly think of outward action.
Right, charity work.
Rescuing stray animals, volunteering, or, quite frankly, aggressively trying to fix our annoying neighbors.
That is the conventional outward-facing understanding. But Benny completely redefines what a sentient being actually is within this high-dimensional framework.
And the definition is shocking.
It really is.
He says sentient beings aren't just the people and animals outside of you. Sentient beings are actually every single thought, every sudden feeling, every impulse, and every stubborn attachment originating inside your own head.
To understand why he categorizes them this way, you have to look at the criteria for life.
Okay, later.
A sentient being is defined by the cycle of birth and death. Within your mind, thousands of times a minute, a thought is born, it exists for a brief lifespan, and it dies.
Oh, wow.
An impulse arises, it demands attention, and it ceases. Your mind is an entire universe teeming with billions of these internal, microscopic sentient beings.
So what does this all mean for how we approach self-improvement? Because Benny delivers a brutal critique of our modern obsession with fixing others based on this.
He says we have the sequence completely backward.
Completely. We ignore the billions of chaotic, screaming, sentient beings inside our own heads, our own greed, our own delusions, and instead, we obsess over micromanaging other people.
We project it all outward.
We point fingers and declare what everyone else is doing wrong.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this outward projection is what Benny identifies as great arrogance.
Great arrogance.
It is the ultimate ego trap. We convince ourselves that we are acting out of compassion by pointing out someone else's flaws.
That's really...
But if we examine the mechanics of our motivation, we're actually trying to force the outside world to cater to our preferences.
Oh, that stinks.
We want to mold other people so that our own internal processor doesn't have to work so hard to tolerate them. It is pure self-deception masked as altruism.
It's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, if you can't even sit quietly in an empty room without your internal universe catching fire, what right do you have to forcibly manage someone else's life?
Exactly. You are just projecting your own internal mess onto them.
But that forces us to ask, why is it so incredibly difficult to clean up our own internal sentient beings? Why is the psychological dirt so stubborn?
Because the attachments we are battling did not originate yesterday.
Right.
Benny explores this by introducing the mechanics of time, karma, and deeply ingrained habits.
And he uses some very visceral examples to illustrate how deep this goes.
Oh, definitely.
He brings up extreme sensory preferences. He asks why certain people passionately love drinking cow dung soup, or eating fish that has been rotting for a year, or stinky tofu.
From an objective biological standpoint, you might assume those things are inherently repulsive.
I definitely would.
But Benny explains that there is no absolute right or wrong to these preferences. They are simply incredibly stubborn habits that have been dyed into our consciousness.
Dyed like coloring a fabric.
Yes. And the critical mechanism here is that this dying process hasn't just happened over the last 10 or 20 years, but over countless lifetimes.
Countless lifetimes. That brings up a fascinating and frankly daunting application. Benny talks about rebellious children.
This part is so relevant.
Kids who insist on doing exactly the opposite of what their parents teach them. He suggests this rebellion isn't just a psychological phase.
No, it's way deeper.
He says it is their past life karma, perhaps 1,000 years of built-up habits maturing and manifesting in real time right now.
It's a staggering thought.
He explicitly states that 10 years of your parenting cannot possibly compete with 1,000 years of their deeply dyed habits. So are we just fighting a losing battle against a millennium of momentum?
This raises an important question about agency. Benny is not suggesting parenting is pointless.
Okay, good.
He is forcing us to acknowledge the sheer physics of karmic momentum. Think of karma less as a mystical bank account of good and bad points, and more as neurological and spiritual momentum.
Okay, momentum.
If a river has carved a canyon into the rock for 1,000 years, you cannot simply redirect the water by placing a small pebble in its path.
That makes sense.
That dye is a deeply carved pathway in their consciousness.
And recognizing that sheer volume of momentum shifts your entire perspective. It stops you from taking the rebellion personally as a failure of your parenting.
Exactly.
And replaces that frustration with an immense objective compassion.
It forces you to realize you are not just managing a teenager's bad mood, you are witnessing the unwinding of ancient conditioning.
Wow.
And this is exactly why superficial external fixes never work. To truly find liberation from this momentum, Benny states we must fundamentally break down the architecture of our perceived reality.
The core structure.
Yes, known in Buddhist psychology as the 5 aggregates.
Wait, I need to pause here. When he says we need to break through the 5 aggregate, what is he actually talking about mechanically? Are these like the lines of code in that internal software we discussed earlier?
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. The 5 aggregates are the components that create the illusion of an independent self.
Okay, break them down for us.
So form is your physical hardware, sensation is your raw data input, perception is your pattern recognition, mental formations are your algorithms and habits.
Right.
And consciousness is the overarching operating system that ties it all together and says, I am me.
The ego.
Right. Benny is very clear that until you completely break through these aggregates, until you stop identifying with the software, you are trapped in the simulation.
He even points out that highly advanced practitioners, beings known as arhats, still struggle with this.
They do.
For you listeners, arhats are essentially individuals who have broken out of the lower levels of suffering. But Benny notes they still carry subtle traces of these deeply dyed habits.
Like tiny glitches in the system.
Yeah, they still have tiny bugs in their code until that absolute final breakthrough.
Living completely identified with the 5 aggregates, believing that this temporary, heavily conditioned operating system is who you truly are, is incredibly dangerous.
How does he describe it?
Benny describes it as riding a high-speed track directly toward bad luck and suffering.
A high-speed track.
Yes, as long as you believe the simulation is real, you will continue grasping at the water grass, you will continue trying to scoop the moon from the water, and you will continue generating billions of internal sentient beings of stress and anxiety.
So to synthesize all of this, what Consultant Benny's teaching provides is a total teardown of our performative, outward-facing lives.
It really strips it all away.
True practice isn't about looking spiritual or speaking quickly to sound intelligent or feeding our ego by trying to fix everyone around us.
That outward focus is the trap. The real work is terrifyingly intimate and entirely internal. It requires recognizing your root, refusing to be a hypocrite, and pulling all of that outward projected energy back inside. You must apply that heavy-duty psychological detergent to the water grass rushing through your own mind.
Which brings us right back to our original problem. When the computer of your life is glitching, stop yelling at the monitor.
Stop clicking the mouse.
Right. Stop trying to drag the folders around the desktop to make everything look neat. The bug is in the code of your own mind.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final concept to mull over.
Lay it on them.
Based on everything Benny taught about the mechanics of consciousness, if every single fleeting thought, every sudden judgment, and every spike of emotion in your head is literally a sentient being that lives and dies, what kind of universe are you personally hosting in your mind right at this very second?
Are you a benevolent host to these thoughts, allowing them to arise and pass? Or are you a chaotic dictator, constantly generating a world of conflict and drama within your own head?
A universe of a billion thoughts, all living and dying based on your attention.
That is definitely something to sit with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, take care of your internal universe.